Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya tuvaidyakena yopa karattang prabarang muninam Patanjaling pranjaliranatosmi. Last time we did the 39, we stopped at 39th sutra of this second book of Patanjali. So that was that if you are aparigraha, that means non-receipt of gifts, if you are established in it, you have this, what in the language here, Janma Katha, Kathanta Sambodha. That means your past and present future existences would be known to you, to the yogi. Because what happens that if you or parigraha, when it is established, you have non-covetousness. You do not covet anything in the world. And finally, that feeling brings another sentiment that this body of yours is also not very covetable. Thereby, what happens, the mind understands that this body is an apparatus which is external to the essence of the individual. You see, so there is a little, it is something like, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, and the ripe coconut. If you shake it, it begins to, you see, you feel that the shell is separated from the core substance. So something like that happens. So thereby this, our feeling that our body is the essential part of our individuality, that is a blockage to the knowledge, this yogic knowledge. It is not a blockage to ordinary knowledge. It is blockage to yogic knowledge. That means this your spatial knowledges of distant things, even previous and future existences, etc., etc. That is how it happens. Now we are in the niyama part. So so now the niyama part begins with shaucha. Shaucha means cleanliness. Now cleanliness has got two parts. Your outside the body, etc., should be clean. And what is more important, the mind should be clean. So first it deals with the 40th sutra, deals with the physical cleanliness. Shauchat swanga jugupsa parair asangsargaha. That means due to this shaucha, you have a kind of disgust for your physical limbs. Disgust in the sense that the spatial affinity to the body that goes away, because you see that body and its different parts have to be cleaned almost always. It has a natural, as Shankara puts it, Savabha Gandhi. It is naturally of a bad smell. That means everything is, say, this perspiration, this excretion, etc., cough and cold, all these things are there. So, you feel that that means that this special liking for the physical beauty, etc., that goes away for the yogi who is traversing these paths. You see, it does not happen for ordinary persons. Sangha yugupsha parir asangsarga. That means you do not like this. Your it is this is referring to the sexuality. So you have a disgust for the sexuality because of your shaucha practice. But this happens only for the yogi who is following these paths. And then for the when you have the mind also, because the mind, these ripus of which the principal are the three, kama, krodha, lobha. These are the main obstacles. When they're attenuated, so you have some sort of mental purity. So from that, what happens? Sattva Shuddhi, Somanasya, Ekagya, Indriya Jaya, Atmadarshana Jagatvani Cha. That means the sentence is not complete, it is Kramena Bhavanti. That means by stages it will happen. That is the sutra. That means first is Sattva Shuddhi. Your sattvic quality becomes much more refined. That means rajas and tamas, they go away to a big extent. So that is Sattva Shuddhi. And Somanasya is that your mind does not become sad. I say, there is a kind of contentment, perpetual. I say. So this is Somanasya. And then Ekagra, that means you become, this one-pointedness come to you. And from that, you have a controlling power over the Indriyas. And from that, Atmadarshana Yugatva. That means your buddhi becomes fit for having a direct perception of the essence of yours, which is Atman. Atma Darshana Yogatya. That means a fitness in the buddhi which will make you finally come face to face with your internal essence, which is Atman. So these things come by stages. So from Sattva Shuddhi, Somanasya, from that, this one-pointedness, from that, the conquest over the Indias, and from that, this Atmadarshana Yagatva. It is. Then the next, your niyama is santosha. So that is your santoshad anuttama sukhalabha. Anuttama sukhalabha, that means the best pleasure you can have from santosha. Santosha is contentment, you see. And there is a shloka in the Mahabharata, Jaccha kama sukham loke, Jaccha divyang mahat sukham, Tishnakshaya sukasyaite narhata shorushin kalam, which means that what is known as sex pleasure in this world, what is the happiness of the beings who are in heaven. So all these happinesses, they are not even 1/16th part of the happiness which comes from the effacement of the thirst for enjoyment. Tishna kshaya sukhasyate narhata shorashinkalam. Now, next is the tapas. So, kayendya siddhir ashuddhi kshayat tapasa. Now, that means this tapasya, when it is become established, tapasya, we have explained, tapasya means anything, say, which is, first of all, it is a curbing of your natural impulsions, which is in the beginning, it is a little difficult, but then it becomes, as the Gita says, that sattika sukha jattata-gre bishamiva pariname amitopamam. Gita says, in the beginning it is very difficult, that afterwards it becomes like nectar. That is sattika sukha. So tapasya is like that. In the beginning, when you begin a tapasya, it is a little difficult because you are not used to it, your system is not used to it, but ultimately you derive great pleasure from this. So when that happens, then your body and your indriyas, the organs, they become, you see, gradually pure. Because there is something in our body, something in our indriyas, which are, you see, though helping us in the ordinary way, in our normal existence, but there is something in them which blocks further progress. So there is this yogic uncleanness. So they go away due to tapasya, all these things. So that means the body and the indriyas, they become your support for the yogic uplift. That comes from tapasya. And we have said, previous time, that to have an idea of tapasya, kaika tapasya, vachika tapasya, manasika tapasya, and that means physical tapasya, then tapasya related to your speech, related to your mind, that has been described in the Gita. So these 4 shlokas ending in the 17th shloka of 17th chapter of the Gita, they are very important for understanding these things. Now, next shloka is Shraddhaya, because one by one, and the result of the niyamas, we have said that Shaucha Santasa, then Tapus Shraddhaya Ishwar Pranidhana. These are the 5 limbs of the niyama. So now it comes to Shraddhaya. Shraddhaya Ishtadevata Samprayoga. Now, Ishtadevata Samprayoga, that means you have a vision of your chosen deity, or even in your normal activities, you will find their very tangible help. Now, Shraddhaya normally means reading of the scriptures, especially the Vedas, but the commentators in Yoga Sutra, they say that it includes also mantra yapa. So, you see, that means if you are a great japaka, you see, that is also a Shraddha, and that helps this process. Then the Ishvara Pranidhana, Samadhi Siddhi, Ishvara Pranidhanat. Now you become established in Samadhi due to Ishvara Pranidhana. That is the meaning of the sutra. What it means actually here, that there are yogic limbs, if you follow them without a special devotional practice to God, you will gradually, attain a yogic height. But if you ignore all practices and simply go to Ishvara Pranidhana, then we'll have this also. That means you, through Ishvara Pranidhana itself, you can attain your highest samadhi. You see, it has been demonstrated by Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna did not go so much through these yogangas. He went directly into it through extreme devotion to God. You see, all the time thinking of God, tremendously, yearning for God. So through that, that is the proof. Sri Ramakrishna's life is the proof of this sutra, that Samadhi Siddhir Ishvara Pranidhanat. That means idea is that if you have Ishvara Pranidhana, then your other things become, not so much necessary. Because Ishvara Pranidhana itself will purify all your activities, all your minds, etc. So by that mind, you cannot do any wrong things. Now, Sthira Sukham Asanam. Asana is an Indo-European word, which means, literally it means sitting. Now, but technically here, there is a meaning of asana. That means it is normally a posture in the yoga. So these postures, of which the Padmasana is very noted, or semi-Padmasana, because these are utilized by yogis for meditation. And it should be sthira and sukham, that you should be steady in the asana and you should feel comfortable. If you are not comfortable, then it is not asana. If you are doing it with much effort, then it is not the yogic asana. Because on the base of the asana, then you progress further. That means you sit like that and then apply your mind. Prayatna Saithillar Ananta Samapatibhyam. Now, uh, uh, what is it meaning? It is, you see, that means how to make it sthira and sukha. You see, so that sutra, this sutra is making you how to make your asana for meditation very steady, etc. Prayatna Saithilla. That means once you are in the asana, because in the beginning, for a beginner, there will be some strain. Beginner, but how the beginner can, you see, do away with strain, that is being discussed here. That means you do not give any special effort to any muscle of the body. That is prayatna shaithilla. That means lessening of effort. Prayatna shaithilla means lessening of effort. It is the muscles, etc. You should not, you see, apply any muscle in the least way. You see, and ananta samapatibhyam, and the mind, the mind should be given to something which is vast, limitless, for the sky, etc. Then you have it easily, this asana third gem. Then the next sutra, Tato Danda Anavighataha. When you have this kind of establishment and asana, you are not affected by the dual thrum. That means heat and cold, etc. Then thirst and hunger cannot overwhelm you so easily. So all these things come from that. This is dvandva, anavighataha. Now they are talking about pranayama. That means it is, the sutra says tasmin sati. That means when the asanas have been fixed, etc., you have some control. Swasha praswasha gati vicheda pranayama. Swasha is inhaling, praswasha is exhaling. There is a movement of the air, and when this natural movement is a little blocked, you see, that is pranayama. Tasmin swati swasa praswasa gativicheda pranayama. Pranayama means, literally it means your ayam, control of the prana. Prana is the cosmic energy of which, you see, a part is your related to our system in the, because through air we are getting energy. So this is, that's why it is called pranayama, control of the prana. This prana, the word itself, is again an Indo-European word. It's a pro plus ana. This ana, you find this animas, animal, etc. This word is this ana. In the Upanishad, Karnyat kapranyad yadisha akash ananasyat. Who the verb one means to move. So who will move at all? Who will exhibit the function of the prana if the whole ether was not full of ananda? That is from your Upanishad. Now the 50th sutra, Bahya Abhantara Stambha Vritti Vede. Stambha Vrittir Deshakala Sankhavi Paridishta Dirgha Sukshma. Now, these are technical terms. That means this pranayama, they are you're separating into three parts, first of all. Bahya Vritti, Abhyantara Vritti, and Stambha Vritti. What is this? In ancient days, what the terms we are using now, Puraka, Rechaka, Kumbhaka, etc., these were not used. So, Bahya Vritti means, you see, when you throw the air out, exhale, and then stop breathing, that is your Bahya Vritti. The opposite is Abhyantara Vritti. And there is a Stambha Vritti, that means, what is that Stambha Vritti? Stambha Vritti is by controlling, manipulating certain muscles in the body. For example, this Mula Bandha, these anal muscles. Then this Uddiyana Bandha, etc. You control. You see, you control. So that is called Stambha Vritti. And so if you, then it is how much time you are doing it. Or if you keep on counting, etc. You see, to keep to measure the amount, etc. So through that, it becomes Digha and Sukshma. You see, it becomes long and subtle. So that is your this is a very ancient method, and Buddha himself, you see, learned a little about Shastras, and especially this pranayama. And he taught it also to his disciples. So it is a very ancient method of these things. And they have, let's see, they are doing, a great research of the Buddhists, like the Hindus also, on pranayama. So that is, Now, pranayama is important in the sense that it is a mechanical, somewhat mechanical process of stilling your mind. For example, they do it in many ways. You see, we have mentioned this Tammavarti, for example. The yogis in India, they have tried to prolong the tongue and then rolling back the tongue, you see, they stopped breathing, etc. Now, through that, what happens to all these things? Even if you, for example, meditate for a long time, sometimes the tongue has the tendency of being rolled back. You see, those who have meditated, you see, they know it, you see. And that gives a, you see, so all these things, through that you attain a certain kind of stillness, even of the mind. But what happens that this stillness is not, you see, when you come out of pranayama, your because you have not destroyed the root cause, so they come, these things come again. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna says, you see, he gives the example of one man who he knew and who was expert in 82 kinds of asana. So once he gobbled up, you see, a 1,000 rupee note of one Mr. Madana Bhatta. You see, Sri Ramakrishna describes it. You see. So idea was that he would finally vomit it out and have the note. But he was caught and punished. So thereby showing that, you see, simply by doing asana and pranayama, etc., you cannot attain, say, the highest thing. If you think that that is the samam bonam of yoga sadhana, then you are wrong. Now, the next sutra is Bahyabhanta Vishayakshepi Chaturthaha, which means that there are that means if you do this pranayama, the three types of pranayama, and if it goes, for example, up to, if you are exhaling and it goes up to your 12 angulis, they say. That means 12 fingers. That is the measure. Here we have five, so 2.5 times your this hand, you see. and and you think that it is going up to your heart, your navel, your inside your head, and uh, throughout your body, through the fine and your channels of the body. If you think like that, then that is called the fourth type of pranayama, which is this fourth type of pranayama is a big thing in your certain Buddhist practices. Because of course, when your pranayama is very much established, then you cannot do this, your thinking like this, is in the measuring, etc., etc. Then you go beyond desha and kala. You say, you do not, you say, so, tata kshiyate prakashavaranam. Now, we have discussed just now, a little while ago, that our body, there is something in our body and your Indias which is a blockage to higher knowledge. So this is called, you say, Amarananda. So next sutra deals with it, tatakshiyate prakashavaranam. Avaranam, the veiling for the manifestation, is thereby attenuated. That means tatakshiyate prakashavaranam. There is something in the body and mind which is veiling the higher knowledge. It is not veiling ordinary knowledge, but the higher knowledge is veiling. It is a certain thing. So through this process, you see, when you are established in pranayama, then this, your blocking thing is attenuated. Tatakshiyate prakasha. Now, next, you see, after pranayama, they are going to dharana. Dharana is the first step of concentration. That means the preliminary, you see, when there is one commentator called Vijnana Bhikshu, he gives also, you see, in a rough way, that dharana is when you are able to concentrate your mind on a subject for 12 seconds. The minimal level of concentration. So then it is dharana. When it is 12 times more, you see, then it is dhyana. When it is again 12 times of that, then it is samadhi. This is rough, you see, your estimate. But anyhow, that is understand. You must understand these are steps. You begin with dharana, and that's why the puja system has come into vogue. In the puja, You prepare many things for the puja. You do a little cleaning your method, both external and internal. You see? Then you gradually, you see, because puja, you see, for the successful puja, it is a question of your mental imagination plus devotion. You must imagine this your divinity, your Ishta Devata, you see, as a human being and who is coming to your house. You see. So you are offering him things, etc., etc. So the idea is that, you see, through puja system, you gradually try to concentrate your mind. This is the technique. In a very simple way, you try to concentrate your mind without trying to frontally attack it. So that is, so dharanasi yoggata manasa. This, due to dharana, the mind becomes fit for higher knowledge. Savishaya asamprayoge chittasya sarupa anukara eva indriyanam pratyahara. That means your mind has, you see, swabhishaya asamprayoge. That means there is a bishaya, an object to which your mind has gone. And you try to take away your mind from it. Swabhishaya asamprayoge. Then, when that happens, chittasya sarupa anukara. That means the chitta and then the internal organ is something like nirodha chitta. That means has been blocked, you see. So functioning has been blocked of the normal your functioning of the mind, etc., etc. So normally mind is proposing and disposing. It is a flickering thing, I see. So that your is Sarupadukara eva Indianam. So then the Indias also, they see they are withheld a little. So that is called pratyahara. That means idea is that your mind is somewhere. You slowly take away the mind from that. Ahara means gathering. Ahara means gathering, you see. So, pratyahara, opposite of gathering. That means you do not, you say to the mind, no, do not give your attention to this, come out of this. You see, because whenever you try to meditate on a subject, since it is unnatural in the beginning for you, or the mind will go to some other subject. You see, in the beginning it will happen. That's why the Gita says, yato yata nischati manaschanchalam tatastato niyamyetat atmaneva vasannayet. This is a pratyahara. This is pratyahara. That means you take away, you see, mind goes away and you gently, you see, turn the mind away from that. So, tato, when you do that, tata parama bashyata indyanam. So, from that, when you are doing that again and again, pratyahara, from that, that's bashyata, that means this, the Indias become your servant. The servitude of the India, that means you are the lord of the Indias then. The servitude of the India that attains its highest point. That is the meaning of this. Tata parama bashyata indyanam. So if that happens, and mind is also India also, as the Gita says, manashashthani Indiani. So if the mind becomes your servant, then it is a great lift in your yoga, because everything is being blocked by it. So we have your finished, you see. Now we have come to the end of the second book, and the second book, you see, this when this Bashyata is there, Indyanang Bashyata, including the Mana, you see, you have conquered Raga Dvesha, you see, you have gone above it, you see, which are the Raga Dvesha, when you have conquered, then the only one thing remains, that is the Vinivesha, you see, which has to be conquered, you see. So through this process, you are attaining a great height. Then we shall enter into this third book of Patanjali, Vibhuti-pada, where these spatial powers are discussed. You see. Any question you have?
Yes, Swami, I have a question.
Yes.
So, can you repeat which sloka is in the Gita? Which sloka refers to pratyahara?
Jatas jatas nischarati manaschanchalamasthiram sadastada. I think it is in the 6th chapter. Sadastatas niyamyetad atmaneva vasannayet.
Thank you, Swami. And second question is pratyahara. Is it so? Because the clearly said sequentially, dharana then develops into dhyana and samadhi, but pratyahara is before. Is there a sequence? Is it before dharana? Because you have to bring the mind back consciously.
Yes, if you do not have pratyahara, that means it is a, why pratyahara? Because it is a natural tendency in the beginning of concentration practice that the mind is, even if you try, after a few seconds, it will go into another subject.
Yes.
So that's why mind taking away. Pratyahara is taking away. Do not gather that thing in the mind. You see, you do the opposite. Pratyahara. So, so that's why Pratyahara. That means without Pratyahara, you cannot really enter into the concentration proper.
Yes. Thank you, Swamiji.
Yes. So concentration for concentration development, this is necessary. This is why Vivekananda used to say that if I have to do my education again, I would learn concentration. Then that concentrated mind I shall apply to different subjects, you see. As per not like that. In the you see, we are now in a wild process. You see, because mind is there, it is being applied to diverse subjects, and there is tremendous. Today there is a tremendous your pollution in the called information pollution.
Yes.
You are being bombarded with informations which are not related to your life, to your progress from every direction, and we are say just receiving them. Thereby what happens, you know, our decision making is hampered, and we forget the goal of life.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Yes.
Ishvara Pranidhana is more of thinking God, the divinity all the time, every moment. Is that
You
Ishvara
see,
Pranidhana?
when you have great devotion, whatever you are doing, that will be, you see, related to God.
Yes, Swami.
You see, everything, it will be related to God. This is due to when the devotion is really very high. You see, when you are eating, for example, you see, you are offering to God. So, you see, that's why this mantra is utilized.
Yes.
Brahmarpanang, Brahmahavir, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, etc., etc. So, you see, everything is your become related to God. You see, when I knew a monk, Swami Santanandaji, who was a child of the Holy Mother, and who was certified by Swami Turiyananda as having reached his goal. You see, this Santanandaji used to advise certain monks, I know, is to say that when you are walking even, you imagine that Sri Ramakrishna and Sarada Devi are on your both sides. You see, you are walking like that, you see. So, so when Ishvara Pranidhana is very high, all activities become related to God.
Swamiji, I want to ask you if for concentration,
Yeah.
should practice pratyahara. What I understand.
Concentration is a pratyahara is a, you see, as I have said, that the natural tendency of the mind when you begin concentration is that after a few seconds it will go to another thing.
Yeah.
The dog is barking, that man is talking, etc. Like that, it will happen. Something which happened yesterday, you see, it will come to your mind. So your mind is deflected. Pratyahara means, you see, you detach your mind first, as language here in the sutra is asamprayoga. It is from your subject you detach your mind, and then by detaching you yourself, direct the mind to the subject intended for as the subject of concentration.
Uh-huh.
You
Thank you.
see, Shankaracharya in explaining upasana in the Gita, he says, upasana nama upasasya arthasya vishayi karanena samipam pagamya taila dharavat samana pratyay pravahena dirghakalang jada tad upasanam ittachaksha. He says it means that what is called upasana, first of all, you choose a subject of your meditation. So after upasasya arthasya vishayi karana samipam pagamya, go near it. That means an icon, idol, etc. You see, go near it. Samana pratyaya taila dharavat samana pratyaya pravahena. Like the flow of oil without interruption. If you pour water, you will find that there is gap, there is air coming in there, that you see. But when you pour oil, there is no air inside it. So taila dharavat samana pratyaya pravahena. That means pratyaya, the ideas in the mind, they must be of the same type. The dirghakalam, for quite a long time, when you sit like that, that is called upasana.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Pranam Maharaj. Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes.
What you explained about pranayama, that it is mechanical, and even after attaining samadhi through pranayama, one comes back to where one was earlier. Now, does it?
No, there is, you see, there is a kind of stillness achieved through pranayama stage. Because, for example, this, especially this, your prolongation of the tongue, etc., and rolling back the tongue, you achieve a kind of stillness of the body, and the mind is also, you see, when the body is quite still, the mind is still. But that kind of samadhi, it does not root out your avidya. When you come back, you are because the roots are there, from that sprouting will happen and will engulf you.
And therefore, to achieve even pratyahara and to go to dharana, we need to have that purity of mind, without which that progress is not feasible.
Yes. An optimal purity is always necessary. An optimal purity, a kind of heightening of the sattvic element, this is also necessary. Without that, you see, this higher spiritual life is impossible.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Hello.
Thank you, Swami. Pranam.
Okay.
Pranam,
Pranam.
Yeah.
Pranam, Swamiji.
Yes.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Pranam.
Yeah. Okay. Namaste.
Pranam.
Yes.